You're welcome to Moobee Family Slave Relics, and where you'll be seeing the original chapels and chains that were used on our forefather back then. And these chapels and chains, they're over 500 years when we are not being born. And I should tell this that for this family to still retain the chapels and chains that's over 500 years where we are not being born, we just have to give it to the family. We call the family Moobee family. And the Moobee family, it was their forefather whose name was Kondogun that facilitated the trade. If Europeans come to buy slave from Kondogun, he used to offer them Kolano like Oyibo Remi and Moobee, and the name just went viral. The villagers started calling the man Moobee, and today the family have no choice. They just have to adopt the name as their royal name and surname. We call them the Moobee family, and Badagry has 8 quarters. Where you are is known as Boyikon quarter. So the Moobee family, you are the one that ruined this quarter called Boyikon, and that's a picture of the current Moobee or Badagry kingdom. Now, these cables and chains, this is a neck. We call it neck collar chain. This is a neck. Another neck. It could be like 100 of them. They wore it on the neck of the slave Africans. Now, the chain used to come out with some torture equipment. That's how we introduced to you. What's the name? Sorry. Tola. Now, I'm Sto. You know, I'm taller slave. My name should be taller. Because slaves have no name. Slaves bear their master's name. So they put this inside the fire. They hit it very well. When it's turn, they now used to write taller on my chest or at my back. We call it branding. Because the enslaved Africa kept in the barrack. What is a barrack? Barrack is a Spanish word meaning cell, dungeon, where the enslaved Africans were being kept. And each of the slaves have their own master. So you have to brand your property because they are beneficial to property. So they put this inside the fire to write taller on my chest and my back, as I said. Then secondly, there's some slaves called fugitives. Who are fugitives? Those are the runaway slaves. Today you run, tomorrow the master tells you bring the slave, they put his toe on something. In between the big toe, there's a pump. Now they fix it in between the big toe. So while other enslaved Africans stay aside, suddenly they will put it on the toes, or they use an axe or a cutter to chop off one of the toes of the runaway slave so they will not be able to run again. If you are watching Moobee to the room, but I said, similar to the guys with Moobee. And thirdly, they also used to pamphlet. The African slave or the enslaved Africans, they are not allowed to communicate. The main reason why communication is not allowed, the Europeans believe that if these black people communicate with their physique, they can plan among themselves and revolt against their master. So they still put this inside the fire. When it's not ready, they throw the upper name, they pamphlet. They put another also. Now, the Europeans will never ever do the mistake by fixing the parallel direction with their mouth because they believe that if they put parallel direction, they can use either left or right side of the lip to zip something. So we call this mouth clit. So they have to draw the two very well for this mouth for fixing parallel on their mouth, as you can see in this drawing here. Now, this one, these are called children chain. Why they are this working? The grandchildren of children together. So there will be some parents while you're working on the farm. And according to all I said again, the children we are giving them as extra. They see the child. They show that the son was said in it. No, you have to tell this. They are always two sided points. When you're looking for Africa, they have to do all of us. So now anywhere they go to, if they realize that these people are not well up to them, they invented the place. The first thing to do is to show where pictures was captured. Anywhere they got to, if they realize these people are well organized, they are asking, what they want to do? They now go through our greedy ship with some items like a bottle of whiskey. Imagine we can even afford that a bottle of whiskey. 10 human beings. Another one, 100 slave, 140 slave, mirror and beef, they used to gather in the body bargain, but we negotiate with them for those items. Now, this one is called front of ring. As you can see, my hand cannot go through this. If I'm a slave, my master will polish it. They have to break the bone. After breaking the bone, they will firstly bring this thing down here. Look at this knot. This knot have melted because this chain is over 500 years. Now they will lose the knot. After losing the knot, they will ask the slave to stand on the platform. Then they will read a very tall tree of this height. Then they will script it. There will be a hole from here to the other side. They fix it. they return the knot, they fix it, they return the knot so that it's very strong. Suddenly, they will drill the platform where the escape Africa was standing. So I just want you guys to imagine your body weight on this one and be suspended this way, and then we dare dying gradually. What are they trying to achieve? They are trying to instill fear into other slaves. Eventually, if they die, no case, because they are very the property of their master. Now, I don't know, let me just, the chain, I think this chain should be like 15 to 20 kg. Yeah. So they carry this as long as anywhere they're taking it to. And under discussion some, they still wear this on their neck. And because of the heaviness, because 15 to 20 kg is still long on their neck, after some time, if they now remove the chain from their neck, it will deform the enslaved Africans. This one is called neck spike. They wore this on their neck while they are working on the plantation. He used to have very long hand, like 2 feet, another 2 feet, 4 feet, 2 feet like this. So after the hand, it normally used to be heavy on their neck and their neck. So while working on the plantation, if they try to escape through the bushes or some small hole, so this one will be very dense, so they're not able to run through the plantation. And then this one is called neck collar bell. They wore this on their neck. So if they try to escape, the bell will be ringing just to attract the dog, so they do know how to locate and bring the slave back to the plantation. And some say this is the origination of the jingle bell.
What's the name of that?
What?
What's the name of this?
Neck collar bell.
Neck collar bell. Okay.
Yeah, they want them so they're not able to escape. Now let's continue. Look at this effigy here. This effigy here, if you look at her, she looks so beautiful. That shows that she should be a princess or prince or queen. Now, how come there's a shackles and chain on the neck of prince, that or princess? That shows that either you are rich, poor, king, queen, anybody could be a victim. Even though Jaja of Moobee was captured as a slave too. And these are some of the money. When Europeans came to Africa, we Africans would be spending money before they came. And a lot of people don't even know that civilization began right here in Africa. The ancient name of Africa is called Al-Kebula, which means motherland, where all human beings originated from. Now, those Europeans that we see today, they came through our gene, because Africa, black one, we've been here over 50,000 years before they came through our gene. So we are the original. We are not inferior. Now, and the older university is in Tubutu, Mali. We don't need to depend on the Westerners. They're supposed to depend on, because we have everything right in Africa. Now, when they came, I'm going to mention 4 types of money our forefathers spent in the olden days. In the olden days, they spent tobacco as money. There's what we call Iyala salt. There's a local government in Cross River named Iyala. In Iyala, they spend salt. Then they also spend tobacco, manila, and cowrie shell. You know what this? Then when they came, them say they can do business with them with this. They should do trade by barter. That's why they have to use some item like a fabric, horses, gunpowder, gun, liquor in exchange of the enslaved Africans. Now, this is the slave drinking bowl. The reason why cup is not included, they always barricade, they tie their hand at the back, and this is the level. They normally bury this outside where the slave live, or the quarters or cabin where they live. They open the ground, they bury it to this level, they now fetch water into it. Now, 20s enslaved Africa to surround it, they will surround this bowl with the hand back, they will kneel down, then the master will say, apes obey, and they go this way. Another 20 will come, apes obey, they go again. Another 20, as we are taking the water is reducing. Now, a lot of people, when you see some black people, they want to carry anything that is heavy. You see them say, hey, Shobe, hey, Shobe. A lot of people don't even know the meaning that it's a call. It's like, that apes obey. That's the apes should obey your master, because they say we blacks, we are subhuman, that we have no soul, that we are an animal. Now, so another 20. So as you are taking the water, if you quote me, the next 20 to take the water, this thing is sharp like razor blade. While they were struggling to take the water, the edge will cut and blood will enter the water. Mucus, the next step to consume have no choice. They say to take the water, the blood and mucus. If they refuse taking the water, to next day, because water and food is next in the day. Now, I used to tell people that those black enslaved Africans were so smarter and so intelligent. Since communication is not allowed in the plantation where they used to work, and they used to use this thing called iron muscle to cover their mouth. And if they don't want to use this, they puff it, they peel the upper lip and lower lip. So now, in the cool of the evening, where they live is called cabin or quarters. Now, they will now come, they came up with some idea, like we call it party, juba, or humble, like you will use that body language to communicate to each other. We call it party or juba. Or the women will spray their hair, we call it corn roll, to pass message to each other. So the Europeans were so amazed. They were so, how many these people communicate? They don't know they're using those body language to pass message to each other. That shows that black men were also intelligent. Now, the man buried there died October 16, 1893. I think the British abolished trade in their territory 1807. Then later they started campaign against him. I think Canada 1833, America 1865. Now, Badagry here, this man buried here, Moobee here, sat with the British March 1852 to sign the treaty for the abolition of the trade. And let me show you this. These are some of the documents to back it up. You can see all the ships that signed the treaty here in Badagry. This is head ship Wawu, ship Moobee, then ship Bala, ship Jagan. You can see head of ship Akron, ship Agoloto, ship Poso, and then so on that signed the treaty for the abolition of the slave trade. Now, this is a title of a castrated slave. Why do they have to castrate the men? Because some majority of them were used as a domestic slave and a bodyguard to their master's wife. For them not to have a sexual intercourse with their master's wife, they have to castrate them, and a lot of them die along the process. And most of the enslaved Africa taken, like especially those slaves taken from Calabar, what they call through those Igbo slaves, were taken to Georgia. There is an island in Georgia where over 75 of the slaves said over the dead body. What they did, they killed their master. 75 of them, one accord, they walk into the ocean, they drown themselves. They call the place Igbo land, where you see the culture and the tradition of the Yorubas, Igbo people there rather. Now, most of the Yorubas when were taken to Brazil, Cuba, and Yorubas spoken in Brazil is known as Lukumi. Those are the Yorubas. You see the culture and the tradition of Yorubas there up to date. Now, and today, the first slave trade began by the Arabs. We call it Trans-Sahara slave trade, which began around 7th century. And then it lasted for 17th century. Now, most of the enslaved Africans, they castrated majority of them, and majority of them, they used to die. And if they escape, these are called killers of the prison. And any slave that people are saying the master's will be struck to death if they die, no case. And taking Africa across the Atlantic Ocean to Europe, America, the team is not the middle person. And this is how they used to expel them. And these are they move them from the hinterland to the point of no return, or to the Parapun, or to the slave market established 1502. We call it the implicated slave market. And this is the point of no return, which is the last journey. Now, at the interval of the journey, there is a well. Who dug the well? The well was dug by African chief. We call it slave acquisition well. They'll fetch the water and give them to drink. Some say they are going to lose their memory. Some say a lot of things. But in my own research, this water is not meant for them to lose their memory. Why? Because you are enslaving these people to go and work. You are going to use them. Somebody with that memory will not be able to function well. So the essence of the water is just to subdue and calm down for 3 to 4 months so that you have to stay true to you. So, but ironically, up to this, some say the water is still effective, some say it's not effective, but we don't know how true it is because we never see any soul who say, okay, let me volunteer and take the water. So you're welcome to the Moobee Family Slave Release once again. My name is Cornerstone, or you call me